Welcome back everybody to the Pride's Fall. It's our little section where we do some D&D horror stories. But before that, if you could, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And with that being said, let's go and get to it. This story comes from r/D&D horror stories by the username Really Enjoys Card, which can I just say is an amazing name. Absolute brat rage quits D&D because we decided to keep playing. I am still annoyed about this, and it was brought up to me again, so I figured I should vent a bit about it here before I have to deal with this player again in a week. We're playing Waterdeep, but shit's gone off the rails, so the GM's had to get a bit creative. The cast is Friendly GM, the GM, halfling paladin of the laughing god that thinks they're a child that is yet to grow up, and generally Robin Hoods about the city with a gang of orphan children. That would be me, aka Pally, the tiefling warlock that is questionably evil, wealthy, educated, and likes to manipulate jolly, low-int /whiz Pally with interesting results. There's the shifter glamour bard that is generally a good time, Bard, and our problem player, Changeling Monk, with multiple personalities based on their chosen form. They generally never go to their weakling elf-looking form and freak out when they do, the Brat. Spoilers for Waterdeep below, just to let you all know. So, we just fought the Poverty Beholder, and nobody was looking too great. The Brat got caught in the Pally's moonbeam, and they were forced to turn into their OG form. They proceed to freak out and cower, trying to hide from everybody while generally being on very low HP. This is in character and understandable. Pally tries to give them a quick high five to heal them up, since they're in what's essentially a dungeon. They run away and cower some more, eventually causing Pally to tackle them to get the heal off. Probably not ideal, sure, but at least the guy wasn't in the danger zone anymore. Brat proceeded to go hysterical and compare it to assault. Granted, they're probably being hyperbolic, but saying a character who mentally acts like a child assaulted them over a high five heal is a bit much in my book. Regardless, the session ended there, and it was left at that after a few calls of calm down, you're overreacting. Pause. Before we continue, I think that in D&D, even when you're just doing a role-playing game, the general rule of if somebody doesn't want to be touched, don't touch them, is a good rule to go by. I get that the Pally is playing a childlike character that doesn't really understand, and they're trying to do their job, trying to do the healing, all that kind of stuff. Get it? Cool. But 9 times out of 10, if you have somebody who is acting like they don't want to be touched, then just don't touch them. It'll probably be better for you and everybody else involved if you just comply with their request. If they want to get smote in the next piece of this dungeon, that's on them. They didn't want to get healed. Next session rolls around. We start the game off in the same spot. Brat continues to cower behind things and generally refuses to interact with the party, given that there's only so much one can do to engage with a character that is actively avoiding the party. We continue to play and attempt to open some of the chests that the Brat was hiding behind, while Brat continued their hiding, sobbing tap dance. We figure after some shit rolls, we need a knock spell to get the bad boys open. So, greedy Pally and the gang go talking to an NPC in the tower and learn that some of the apprentices know the spell. Great! So we make for the area deeper in the tower and get assaulted by some animated staves, convince some NPCs to fight said staves as we slip off to continue our search for the Knockcasters. Brat continues to sulk, and now alone in said tower room with dead Poverty Beholder. Well, alright dude, you do you, I guess, was the general consensus. Pause. As OP said before, there's really only so much you can do to pull a player out when they're kind of stuck in the spiral. They're just like, oh, well, it's what my character would do. My character would be sad. It's like, yeah, that's cool. You're also not interacting with the story at all anymore. And it's not our job to try and pull you along to do it. We tried talking to you, we tried doing all the things, even say I'm sorry by healing you. You wouldn't let us do that. So we don't really know what you want us to do for your character just hiding in the corner. We're going to continue playing the game because it's what we're here to do. So don't be like this player. Just even if your character has something to be upset about, don't sulk in the corner. It's almost better to blow up about it, really. Like, go yell, go be mad, and get the conflict done and resolved. That doesn't mean actually, like, scream, by the way. Don't go yelling at people in real life, but just be like, yeah, my player's angry. I stand up and I confront, I confront the paladin for hitting me with a moonbeam. That makes complete sense. Yeah, go confront the person that hit you with an AoE spell if you're really upset about it, but do something that will continue progressing the story instead of, I sulk in the corner sad. My life is pain. It's all awful. Oh. Back to the story. So we find a gargoyle and have a really fun conversation with them, getting them to join the party, since we're basically down 3 party members with the Brat skulking and refusing to do much of anything. Gargoyle is well received and proves to be extremely useful in our next combat encounter. Meanwhile, the GM is trying to bait Brat out by giving them info or little mentions of NPC activity They snub one or two from what I remember, but eventually, finally, stealthing after some NPCs and find the party. We're in the middle of a combat now and not doing really great, but thankfully Gargoyle Friend is kicking ass. We're thrilled with them and show praise. Apparently this was a mistake, as it enrages Brad and he begins to make comments about us replacing him. Well, we hadn't, we just, found an NPC, but whatever. So he sits and pouts and watches us burning up spell slots and taking damage from this massive demon thing. We finally managed to down it, but we're not looking so hot ourselves. The gargoyle nearly went down. We heal him up a bit, but they're still not doing great. We shamble off to get the animated armor enemy. Now, we've had nothing more than a short rest at this point, and we're pretty much all out of heal. Brat is still lurking in the shadows, and our passive perceptions are shit, so we don't notice. He follows until we enter combat with the armor, and we're getting our asses kicked. Then he decides it's his time to shine. While Pally is locked up in a fight for their life and losing, he changes into a male NPC the party was very friendly with and pops up out of nowhere, landing a series of blows on the gargoyle and downing it in basically one turn. As soon as he did, we all yelled in protest and cautioned him what he was doing would be met with retaliation, but he claimed he was salty and we'd replaced him, so he was going to kill it, even though he knew we liked the NPC, and even though we literally, in the midst of combat on low HP with no spell slots to spare, they then teleported behind the bard and attacked them, then retcon the attack, ending their hellish turn. So Bard pops their Mantle of Inspiration, we all flee from the combat encounter. The Warlock uses Spare the Dying on the Gargoyle. We're all visibly angry and the party decides that we're going to attack and kill the Brat. Brat, meanwhile, downs animated armor while we're trying to save the gargoyle and then promptly sits in the middle of the room. They drop the NPC's form and take on a more stupid personality in hopes that we'd overlook the transgression. They continue to repeat that they were salty and been replaced as their only excuse. Then later into it, they tried to suggest that their character was so stupid that it would have been in character. So the Warlock throws an Eldritch Blast while the Bard gets the gargoyle up. Brat is prone in the middle of the room. I threaten him with my longsword, but eventually decide to just tie them up because I'm not going to kill a dude for being an ass. We've all been playing for nearly a year and the campaign is almost over, so I tie him up after winning the grapple. And when he starts shouting, I gag his character, which is rude, I admit, but I was pretty angry at myself. I'll just mention here that the Brat and I do not get on, so the fact that it was me tying him up did not go over well. Sure, I mean, the other two were in agreement to kill him, but fuck me, right? So he goes on to say that he doesn't need to put up with this bullshit, and enough people don't care about him in real life, so fuck you guys, or something to that extent. And he rage quits, much to our surprise. He GMs every other week, so he's dismantling his campaign, and now essentially we've got one more game of Waterdeep, then RIP D&D with this group. The kicker is that he's apparently fucking livid with me and just me, so I can't wait for our final session. I'm half tempted to not even fucking go because it's not fun anymore. If this were a new player, I'd be more understanding, but the man is in his mid-20s and has been playing for ages. We're likely not going to get an apology, and I wouldn't be surprised if he demanded one from us for not dropping everything and trying to force his character to interact with us. I'm all for RPing in character development. There's only so much one can do to engage with somebody who refuses to engage back, yet expects it. I'm just baffled by all this, even considering if somehow I am the one in the wrong here, even though everyone else was also clearly pissed and out for blood. I just hope that I don't have to do a follow-up post after this end rant. There are people in the comments saying that you haven't done anything wrong, and I would have one tiny nitpick, which is don't put your hands on other people's character. PvP is almost always a bad time unless you guys have all come together and unanimously decided that it's going to be okay. And even then, shit still goes off the rails. There's a ton of times where people are just like, yeah, I'm fine with PvP. And then when it comes down to it, you're like, whoa. This isn't the kind of PvP I thought. So, tackling him earlier in the session and then trying to basically bind him, all that kind of stuff, is going to introduce a bunch of bad blood at a D&D table. Now, that being said, everything else, I would agree, this dude sucks. Oh my god, the Brat is awful. Oh, woe is me, I'm so sad, and then you guys are trying to replace me. Dude, we're not trying to replace you, we're just trying to play the fucking game. Oh my god. We had to ask this guy along because you wouldn't fucking help us in the first place. And at the end there, when the OP is talking about there's only so much you can do to pull somebody out to RP and engage back, you know, all those kinds of things. They're 100% correct. What are you supposed to do other than just be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry that you're a little bitch. No, I'm kidding. Kind of, not really. God damn. Yeah, and the worst part is too, the other guy's a GM. The brat's a GM. He runs his own games. You would think they'd have this down by now. You'd think they'd have it figured out. You have to roll NPCs, which inherently are not the focus of anything. They're at best quest givers, you know, things like that. They may have information, but after that, there are a million NPCs that you just throw away when you're done. They're never going to be seen again. And you'd think that being a GM that runs a bi-weekly game, which seems fairly consistent, you'd have that figured out by now, but apparently you don't. So you should know how to share spotlight, considering when you're GMing, you really don't want the spotlight to be on you as a GM at all. You want it to be on your players. So the idea that you're just like, no, this is my time. I'm so tragic. Oh, woe is me. In the corner, and everyone's just like, all right, well, we tried to pull you out of your shithole there, but you seem to be really entrenched in there, so we're going to continue on. Yeah, of course they are, and that's on you. Thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you could, please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you'd like to be part of our own games that we run from time to time, go ahead and join the Discord. The information will be down below. And then until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, and have a good one.